Joining us to talk about and to bring us up to date with what's been happening in Tukituki in particular, we're joined by the National Party candidate, Catherine Wedd. Catherine, thank you for joining us this afternoon. How are you finding the campaign?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me on the show, Michael. No, the Tukituki campaign is going really well for National. We have been running a really strong ground campaign, so I've knocked on thousands of doors now, and we're getting a really positive response here for National, but certainly a lot of issues out there, people really doing it tough at the moment and really wanting some change and a stronger economy so we can really reduce the cost of living for everyone.
Take us through the Tukituki seat, Catherine. What's in it? Is all of Hastings City in it, for example?
Yeah, so it's a really diverse electorate. So we've got the main Hastings City, and then we've got Flaxmere, and we've got Havelock North, and then we go right out to the coast, to Hamoana, Te Wonga, Waimarama, and then we've got Clive. I'm actually sitting in Clive right now. We've been doing a few doors this morning and door knocking here. And then we have the farmer and grower vote. So we go right through to central Hawke's Bay. We don't take in the township of Waipawa and Waipukaro, but we go down through Tikakino and Otani and Onga Onga. So there's a lot of farmers there, a lot of rural communities, but we are a large horticulture area here in Hawke's Bay, and so Hastings is the fruit bowl of New Zealand, so we have a lot of growers, and of course that area has been very heavily impacted by the cyclone, so we've got a big rebuild and recovery on our hands here, which is also a big issue for many communities at the moment, and very front of mind as well, and obviously part of our campaigning and the election.
As I listen to you geographically describe the electorate, I'm stunned to think that it could possibly have elected a Labour MP at the last election. What do you put that down to?
Well, I think there were a lot of stunned electorates around the country last time. This was a very close seat in the last election, so there were 700 votes in it on the night. And then it moved to about 1,500 once the specials were counted. So, it had traditionally for 3 or 4 terms been a blue seat, but it moved in the last election. So we're working hard to get it back for National, and the campaign is being received really positively. And, people feel that Labour has really hammered our primary industries here in Hawke's Bay, particularly our farmers and our growers with so much red tape, bureaucracy, and they're over it. We need to get the wheels moving. We need to be aspirational for a food-producing region, which Tukituki is. It is the fruit bowl of New Zealand. And so we need to make sure we're supporting our growers and our farmers, and that's certainly something I'll be standing up for and advocating for as the next MP for Tukituki.
Okay, but you're pretty much preaching to the choir there. I can't imagine too many of them will be casting votes necessarily for the centre-left just at the moment. The key to your seat would appear to be the urban area, I guess, of Hastings itself. It's tended to lean Labour, the urban part of Hastings for a long time, and it's always been leavened by usually having Havelock North in and Flaxmere out, but you've got both in your seat, I guess, at the moment. How's Hastings feeling as a particular urban area?
I'm spending a lot of time in Hastings. I'm spending a lot of time in our various areas around the electorate, making sure that I am connecting with every single community. But Hastings is definitely feeling positive for National at the moment. People are just really feeling the cost of living crisis, and they're just over this government just spending like no tomorrow and creating a whole lot of bureaucracy in Wellington, when actually provincial New Zealand is really, really feeling that. They're feeling that actually we want resourcing and funding moved into the front line in our hospitals, in our classrooms, and in our region, in Tukituki, not running things from Wellington. So, we really want to take Wellington out of farming and growing, and our urban areas here in Hastings as well. So, I'm getting a lot of that on the doors. So I think Hastings is definitely feeling positive for National at the moment.
Okay, but the thing that's interesting at the last election to me is that if you look at the result, and you will have pored over it, I imagine, in minute detail, Catherine.
Yes, of course.
For polling booth by polling booth. But overall, there were 20,000 party votes for Labour in the Tukituki electorate last time, and there were 12.5 for the National Party. That's quite a difference between the two. Obviously, as you point out, Anna Hawke just beat Lawrence Yule, but Lawrence Yule would appear to have been severely handicapped by being in the National Party if you look at the last results in 2020. The thing that strikes me, though, as I look at these party votes at the last election is that, and that obviously led to the change in Member of Parliament, is that there is such a significant gap. I'd have no doubt you will be elected and elected well, Catherine, but I'm wondering if you think where you think the party votes for Hastings will end up this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are going to get a really strong National Party vote here in Tukituki. I've been out, as I said, knocking on thousands and thousands of doors, and I mean, that's some really good polling right there. And, there is a real mood for change. People are fed up. They're fed up with this government, and they really want to strengthen the economy, and that really comes down to a national-led government, and that's how people are feeling. And I come back to horticulture. Every business and most families feed off our horticulture sector and our primary industries in Hawke's Bay, and people know that. And we've had a government that's absolutely hammered our growers and farmers. And, people can see that even with the cyclone recovery. There's been a real lack of leadership with the cyclone recovery, and, people just want strong, stable government, and they see that in National. So I think we're going to do well in the party vote, but I also think that we've got some strong support, obviously, for me as the candidate as well. So I think they'll both reflect each other.
Twin electorate, obviously, is Napier, and you've got, I think, Anne Nimmin is the National Party candidate there.
Katie
Nimmin, that's right. And we've had her on the show as well. The interesting thing for me is, let's assume that the polls are right and that Katie is elected, and that so are you. Her job's slightly harder than yours, but nevertheless, you're both elected on the night. You've still got a cyclone recovery issue there, and will have for years. What would you identify or have identified as the major priority if you get elected, Catherine, to do with the cyclone recovery in a month's time?
Well, I think from the outset, people have just wanted strong leadership, and we haven't seen that in this government. We had 3 cyclone recovery ministers. One was sacked, and then the next one walked the floor to the Māori Party, and then the next one is from out of region. So that's caused a lot of uncertainty. It's caused further delays, and, even in the horticulture sector with the growers, they were calling out for funding and support fast. It didn't come until 7 months later, and then we had the finance minister actually come and apologise to growers for giving them the wrong information around a commercial lending scheme which they had originally announced, and then they changed that to give interest-free loans, which was more aspirational and motivational for our growers to replant and re-establish the tree. So we need to see faster and fairer recovery. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, I'm still talking to families and communities the whole time at the moment. They're still in limbo. They're still waiting, and so we need to see faster and fairer. But then there's some communities that are really frustrated and angry around their categorisation that they've received. They've gone from a Category 2, where they thought they were moving back to their properties, to now a Category 3, where it's basically a government buyout, and then that is a really slow, arduous kind of task ahead of them, and they disagree with it. So we're going to create independent ombudsman to be able to let these people be heard, and to obviously have a fairer, more independent response for them, which I think they're really, really calling out for at the moment as well. So there's many areas that we need to address, and we feel that this government hasn't delivered for Hawke's Bay like it should have, and we just haven't seen the leadership and direction on the ground. And I suppose me as a MP, I will make sure that I'm standing up for our communities here, and I am being a strong leader, and I am listening, and I am making sure that we are moving faster and fairer.
I imagine, though, Anna Hawke would have said, I'm doing all those things as well, the current Member of Parliament, the Labour Member of Parliament for Tukituki. I guess the question is, Are your local members of parliament, Stuart Nash, for example, is still the member of parliament for Napier now, despite the fact that he's going to be retiring? Are they actually able to swing the levers in Wellington, or have they been unsuccessful in doing so, in your view?
I think that's the problem. I think they've been very unsuccessful, and they haven't been seen. They haven't been on the ground here. They haven't been interacting with the communities that so desperately need help. And I think if you don't have good relationships and strong relationships with your ministers and your cabinet, well, then you can't get things done for your region. And so that's where Katie and I have been working really, really closely together, because Hawke's Bay is a region. I mean, Napier is so close to Hastings, and, people expect us to work together as a region, collaborate and be two strong voices in Parliament. We've had many of our MPs, including our leader, Christopher Luxon, here several times over the cyclone, over the recovery. Nicola Willis has been here, and, we care about provincial New Zealand, and we care about helping our rural communities, and it's so, so important. And this government just has really kind of left Hawke's Bay to fend for itself in many ways. And I think, many people are really, really feeling like that. And so, and that compounded with the whole cost of living crisis and economy going backwards is really, really tough for people at the moment.